The silence in the arena lasted for a long time. Thousands of aliens stared down at the impossible sight below them. The hollow was dead. The creature that had never lost a fight in 400 years lay still in the sand, killed by a human with a knife. Medical drones floated down to collect the body. They moved slowly, almost carefully, as if they too could not believe what had happened. Jake did not watch them. He was focused on staying upright. His body had gone past pain into a strange numbness. He could feel his heart beating too fast, trying to pump blood that was steadily leaking out of dozens of wounds. His legs felt like they were made of water. His arms weighed 1,000 pounds each, but he was still standing. That was what mattered. In the human delegation box, Megan was already moving. She grabbed a medical kit and headed for the stairs that led down to the arena floor. A coalition guard stepped in front of her. "You cannot enter the arena during the trial," the guard said. He was a Corvadi, massive and covered in armored scales. "He needs medical attention," Megan said. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "The rules are clear. The challenger must face all 3 rounds without assistance. If he cannot continue, he forfeits." Megan wanted to argue. She wanted to push past this alien and run to Jake's side, but she knew the rules as well as anyone. If she interfered, everything Jake had suffered would be for nothing. She stepped back and watched. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. Down in the arena, Jake forced himself to breathe slowly and steadily. He had learned long ago that panic used up energy. Staying calm was not just mental strength. It was survival strategy. The crowd was starting to talk again. Their voices buzzed like insects, filling the arena with noise. But the tone was different now. There was less mockery and more uncertainty. 2 rounds, someone said. The human won 2 rounds. It must be some kind of trick, another voice argued. Humans are weak. Everyone knows this. Then how did he kill the hollow? No one had a good answer. Silikith had recovered some of her composure. Her scales had shifted from white back to a pale blue, though they still carried traces of shock. She rose from her seat and addressed the arena. "The human has performed better than expected," she announced. Her voice was steady, but there was a new note in it. Something careful. "However, the trial is not over. The 3rd round will determine everything." Dex stepped forward. "The 3rd champion will now enter the arena." But before the gate could open, something happened that no one had planned for. The massive doors at the far end of the arena exploded inward. Not opened, exploded. Metal fragments flew across the sand, and the sound echoed like thunder through the structure. 3 figures walked through the ruined doorway. The entire arena went silent again. But this silence was different. This was the silence of prey animals who had just spotted a predator. Jake turned to face the new arrivals. What he saw made his blood run cold. They were Krathvar. The apex hunters. Every child in the galaxy knew about the Krathvar. They were the monsters that other monsters had nightmares about. They did not belong to any government or coalition. They answered to no laws. They traveled from world to world, hunting whatever they decided was worthy prey. When they found a species they liked, they hunted it. Sometimes they hunted individuals. Sometimes they hunted entire civilizations. 300 years ago, they had destroyed the Velox Empire, hunting every single member of that species to extinction. It had taken them 40 years. They had enjoyed every moment. The 3 Krathvar who entered the arena were massive. Each one stood 12 feet tall, covered in armor that looked like black glass. Their bodies were roughly humanoid, but wrong in ways that hurt to look at. Too many joints, too many angles. Their heads had no faces, just smooth black surfaces with cracks that glowed with orange fire. The leader was the largest of the 3. His name was Skarn, and he was ancient. No one knew exactly how old. He had been hunting since before the coalition existed. He had killed things that humanity had no words for. Scarn walked across the arena floor toward Jake. The sand melted into glass beneath his feet. The heat coming off his body was enough to make the air shimmer. He stopped 10 feet from the wounded human and looked down at him. "We have been watching," Scarn said. His voice was like grinding stone mixed with burning metal. "From very far away, we have been watching this trial." Jake did not back away. He could not have even if he wanted to. His legs had forgotten how to move backward. Silikith rose to her feet. "This is a coalition matter. The Krathver have no right to interfere." Scarn did not look at her. He kept his burning gaze fixed on Jake. "We go where we wish. We do what we wish. The coalition exists because we allow it to exist." No one argued with this. It was simply true. "We have come to issue a challenge of our own," Scarn continued. "The human has impressed us. We wish to test him ourselves." Megan felt her heart stop. This was not part of the plan. This was not something anyone had prepared for. The Krathver did not issue challenges. They just hunted. And when they hunted something, that something died. "If you defeat us," Scarn said to Jake, "we will acknowledge your species as worthy. We will spread word through the galaxy that humans are apex. No one will mock you again. No one will underestimate you." Jake swallowed. His throat was dry. "And if I lose?" Scarn's head tilted slightly. The crack in his face widened, revealing more of the fire burning inside him. It might have been a smile. "If you lose, we will hunt your homeworld. We will come to Earth, and we will hunt every human until none remain. It will take many years. We will enjoy it very much." The arena erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted and screamed. Some called for security. Others called for the trial to be stopped. The coalition had rules against this kind of interference, but the Krathver did not care about rules. Jake looked up at the 3 monsters standing before him. He was wounded. He was exhausted. He was one human with a knife against 3 creatures that had destroyed entire civilizations. He thought about Earth. He thought about the cities, the forests, the oceans. He thought about the 8 billion people going about their lives, not knowing that their entire future was being decided in an alien arena thousands of light years away. He thought about his parents, long dead now. He thought about the small town where he grew up, about the school where he learned to read, about the river where he learned to fish. He thought about Megan, watching from the platform above. He thought about all the humans who would come after him, if there were any humans left to come after. Then he made his decision. He started walking toward the Krathver, not backing away, not running. Walking forward toward the fire and the death and the impossible odds, because that was what humans did. Megan watched him go. Tears ran down her face, but she did not look away. Jake stopped 5 feet from Scarn. He raised his bloody knife. "Let us begin," he said. The arena was the largest structure Commander Jake Lawson had ever seen. It stretched upward for what seemed like miles, with thousands of viewing platforms carved from crystal floating at different heights. Each platform held delegates from different alien species, and all of them were looking down at him. Jake stood alone in the center of the sandy floor. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a face marked by old scars. His dark hair was cut short in military style, and his eyes were the color of storm clouds. He wore simple combat armor, nothing fancy, just standard human military issue. In his hand, he held a knife. That was all. Around him, the noise was incredible. Aliens of every shape and size were talking, laughing, pointing at him. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no bodies at all, and existed as floating clouds of energy. They came from hundreds of different worlds, all united under the Galactic Coalition. And today, they had gathered to watch a human try to prove his worth. Lieutenant Megan Holt watched from the small platform assigned to the human delegation. She was a woman in her early 30s, with red hair tied back in a practical bun. Her hands gripped the railing so hard, her knuckles had turned white. She had served with Jake for 8 years. She had seen him do impossible things. But this was different. This was politics mixed with violence, and the stakes were higher than any battle they had ever fought. The Vethrani ambassador slithered to the edge of her viewing box. Her name was Silikith, and she was one of the most powerful voices in the coalition. Her body was like a snake, covered in scales that shifted color with her mood. Right now, they were bright purple, which meant she was amused. Her long tail ended in a blade of natural bone, sharp enough to cut through metal. "This is the human warrior?" Silikith said loudly. Her voice carried across the arena thanks to the translation devices built into the structure. "This soft little creature?" Laughter spread through the crowd. It was not kind laughter. Silikith continued, enjoying the attention. "Look at him. No claws, no fangs, no armor. His skin is so thin I can see the blood moving beneath it. My children could kill him before their first birthday." More laughter. Some of the aliens stomped their feet or slapped their tentacles against the railings to show their agreement. Jake did not react. He stood perfectly still, his eyes moving slowly across the arena, taking in every detail. The exits, the distances, the way the sand shifted under his boots. His face showed nothing. Megan knew that look. It was the look Jake got before something very bad happened to whoever was threatening him. The arena master stepped forward. His name was Dex, and he was a Golithi, a species known for their size and their strict sense of honor. He stood over 8 feet tall and had 4 massive arms. His skin was gray and rough like stone, and his eyes glowed with a soft yellow light. "The challenge has been accepted," Dex announced, his deep voice silencing the crowd. "The human representative will face 3 champions chosen by the coalition. If he survives all 3 rounds, humanity will be granted a seat on the Inner Defense Council. If he fails, humanity will remain in the outer territories forever, with no right to appeal." Jake nodded once. He had known the terms before he stepped into the arena. Humanity had been trying to join the Inner Council for over 50 years. They had been rejected 17 times. The coalition saw humans as weak, primitive, barely worth noticing. This trial by combat was their last chance to prove otherwise. Silikith laughed again. 3 rounds? He will not survive one. Look at him standing there with his little knife. Does he think he is going to cut his way through our champions? A Kovathi delegate, a creature that looked like a bear mixed with a lizard, spoke up. "Perhaps we should give him a real weapon. It would be more sporting. Why bother?" Another alien called out. "The outcome is already decided." Jake finally spoke. His voice was calm and clear. "I have all the weapons I need." This caused a moment of silence, followed by even louder laughter. The aliens thought he was making a joke. They thought he was trying to be brave in the face of certain death. They did not understand what they were looking at. Megan understood. She had seen Jake fight hand-to-hand against enemies twice his size. She had seen him survive things that should have killed him 10 times over. Humans were not like other species. They did not give up. They did not accept that something was impossible. And Jake Lawson was the most human person she had ever known. The first champion entered the arena through a massive gate that rose from the sand. He was a Drexian, a species bred for war. His name was Vorn, and he stood 9 feet tall. He had 4 arms, and each arm ended in 3 fingers tipped with claws made of natural bone. His skin was covered in thick scales that could stop most energy weapons. His eyes were red and filled with hunger. "Human," Vorn said, his voice a low growl. "I have killed 300 warriors in this arena. You will be 301. Jake shifted his weight slightly. Just a small movement, Most observers did not even notice it. I have heard of your species, Vorn continued, circling slowly. You are prey animals. You evolved by running away. You have no natural weapons, no defenses. The only reason you survived on your planet was because nothing there was smart enough to hunt you properly. That is one way to see it, Jake said quietly. Vorn laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. Is there another way? Jake's eyes met the Drexian's gaze. We survived because everything on our planet tried to kill us. The predators, the weather, the diseases, even the plants. And we did not just survive. We won. Every creature that hunted us is either dead or in a cage. Every disease that tried to wipe us out, we cured. Every challenge our world threw at us, we overcame. Vorn stopped circling. Something in the human's voice had caught his attention. You think you are special because you are a predator, Jake continued. You think your claws and your scales make you dangerous. But you have never faced something that refuses to die. You have never fought something that treats pain as fuel. You have never met a species that evolved not by being the strongest, but by being the most stubborn things in the universe. The arena had grown quiet. Even Silikith had stopped laughing. Vex raised the ceremonial horn. The first round will now begin. The horn sounded, a deep note that echoed through the arena. Vorn exploded forward, four arms slashing through the air in a deadly pattern, and Jake moved. Vorn was fast. Faster than anything that size had any right to be. His forearms cut through the air like blades, each strike aimed at a vital point on Jake's body. The pattern was perfect, designed to shred an opponent from multiple angles at once. No one had ever survived it, but Jake was not where he had been a heartbeat before. The moment the horn sounded, Jake's body had moved on pure instinct. Thousands of hours of training, combined with millions of years of human evolution, kicked in. He did not think about what to do. His muscles simply knew. He dropped low, far lower than Vorn expected. The Drexian's claws passed through empty air where Jake's head had been. In that same moment, Jake rolled forward, passing directly beneath Vorn's massive body. The sand scraped against his armor as he moved. Vorn tried to adjust. He was a veteran of hundreds of fights. He had faced opponents who used speed before. But by the time his brain processed what had happened, Jake was already behind him. The knife went in clean. Jake had studied Drexian anatomy for months before this day. He knew exactly where the nerve clusters sat at the base of the spine, protected by thick scales, but reachable if you knew the angle. His blade found that spot with surgical precision. Vorn made a sound like a broken engine. His legs stopped working first, then his arms. He collapsed face first into the sand, still alive, but completely paralyzed. The arena was silent. Jake stood over the fallen champion, his knife dripping with alien blood. He was breathing hard, but his face was still calm. He looked up at the viewing platforms and waited. Megan let out a breath. She had not realized she was holding. Around her, the other human delegates were gripping their seats with white knuckles. Nobody spoke. In the diplomatic box, Silikith's scales had shifted from purple to a pale blue. She was no longer amused. She was surprised. But she recovered quickly, forcing her scales back to their confident purple. Luck, she announced loudly. The human got lucky. The Drexian underestimated him. It will not happen again. Some of the aliens in the crowd nodded. They wanted to believe it was luck. The alternative was too disturbing to consider. Vex walked to where Vorn lay in the sand. Medical drones floated down to carry the paralyzed warrior away. The arena master looked at Jake with new interest. The first round goes to the human, Vex announced. The second champion will now enter. The gate rose again. This time, no one was laughing. The creature that walked into the arena was called the Hollow. It was a Vethkai, a species that had evolved on a world where everything was predator and nothing was prey. They had no society, no culture, no art. They existed only to hunt and kill. The Galactic Coalition used them as assassins when they needed something dead, and did not care about the consequences. The Hollow had no real name. Names were for creatures that formed bonds with others. The Vethkai did not form bonds. They formed body counts. It stood 7 feet tall, but its body was thin and wrong. Its limbs had too many joints, bending in places where a limb should not bend. Its skin was pale white, almost glowing in the arena lights. Its face had no features except for 2 large black eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Jake watched it move. It did not walk like other creatures. It flowed like water finding its way downhill. Every movement was perfectly efficient. There was no wasted energy, no tells, nothing to predict. "You killed Vaughn," the Hollow said. Its voice was like dry leaves scraping against stone. "He was not worthy prey. Perhaps you will be more interesting." Jake adjusted his grip on his knife. The blade was still wet with Drexian blood. He said nothing. The Hollow circled him slowly. "I have been hunting for 400 years. I have killed warriors, kings, generals. I killed a Gorlathi battlemaster once. It took me 3 days to break him. I wonder how long you will last." Megan leaned forward. She could see the tension in Jake's shoulders. He was worried. That scared her more than anything else. The second round began without ceremony. The Hollow simply attacked. It was nothing like fighting Vorn. The Drexian had been a hammer, relying on strength and speed. The Hollow was a scalpel. It did not try to kill Jake quickly. It cut him slowly, methodically, like a surgeon opening up a patient. A slice across his forearm. A cut on his thigh. A shallow gash along his ribs. Each wound was precise and painful, designed to bleed steadily. Jake tried to counter. He stabbed and slashed at the pale creature, but it was never where his blade expected it to be. It moved like smoke, like a bad dream, always just out of reach. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then an hour. Jake was covered in blood now. Dozens of cuts marked his body. His armor was torn in multiple places. His breathing was ragged and harsh. Any other creature would have collapsed long ago from blood loss alone. But Jake was still standing. The crowd had grown quiet again. This was not the quick execution they had expected. This was something else. Something uncomfortable. Why does he not fall? A Meldrani delegate whispered. No one had an answer. The Hollow paused in its circling. For the first time in 4 centuries of killing, it felt something unfamiliar. It was not fear exactly. It was more like confusion. The math did not add up. The human should be dead. The wounds it had inflicted would have killed any other species 3 times over. "What are you?" the Hollow asked. Jake spat blood onto the sand. His vision was blurry. Every part of his body screamed at him to lie down and rest. His muscles burned like fire. But somewhere deep in his chest, something older and more powerful than pain kept him upright. It was the same thing that had kept his ancestors alive on the African plains. The same thing that had driven them to chase prey for days without stopping. The same thing that made humans cross oceans, climb mountains, and walk on the moon. It was stubbornness. Pure, unreasonable, absolutely human stubbornness. "I am the thing that does not stop," Jake said. He raised his knife again. The Hollow attacked with renewed fury. It was done playing now. It wanted this strange creature dead before it had to think too hard about what it was facing. But Jake had been watching. His human brain, designed for pattern recognition, had been cataloging every movement the Hollow made. Every tiny shift in its weight, every slight turn of its head, every small tell that came before an attack. He had been bleeding and hurting for an hour, But he had also been learning. When the hollow lunged for the killing blow, Jake was not there. He had seen it coming. The small tilt of its head, the way its left arm drew back slightly. He moved before the attack even started. His knife found the creature's chest. It slid between the strange, flexible ribs and pierced the primary heart. The hollow looked down at the blade in its chest. Its black eyes showed something new. Surprise. It fell to the sand and did not move again. Jake stood over the body, swaying on his feet. Blood dripped from his wounds onto the pale corpse. The arena was completely silent. Then, slowly, he looked up at Silikith. The ambassador's scales had turned pure white, the color of fear. Skarn looked down at the human standing before him. The creature was small, wounded, covered in blood that was clearly its own. It held a knife that would be useless against Krathvar armor. By any reasonable measure, it should have been begging for mercy. Instead, it was walking toward him. Skarn had hunted for thousands of years. He had seen courage before. He had seen desperation that looked like courage. He had seen madness that wore courage like a mask. But this was something different. This was something he had not encountered in all his centuries of killing. The human stopped a few feet away. It did not look afraid. It looked focused. "Before we begin," Jake said, "I want to tell you something." Skarn tilted his head. The fires burning behind his face crackled with interest. "You wish to speak?" "Most prey only screams." "I am not prey," Jake said. His voice was calm and steady despite his wounds. "And what I have to say might save your life." Behind Skarn, the other two Krathvar made sounds that might have been laughter. The idea that a wounded human could threaten them was absurd. They had killed gods. They had hunted things that could bend space and time. This small creature with its thin skin and its little knife was nothing. But Skarn raised one massive hand, and his hunters fell silent. He had survived this long by listening when others talked. Sometimes, prey said interesting things before they died. "Speak then," Skarn said. Jake took a breath. The air was hot near the Krathvar, hot enough to make breathing difficult. But he had trained in worse conditions. He had survived worse situations. He would survive this one, or he would die trying. "You think you understand humans," Jake began. "You have watched us. You have studied us. You see a species without claws, without fangs, without armor. You see soft skin and weak bodies. You see prey." Skarn said nothing. He was listening. "But you are making a mistake," Jake continued. "The same mistake everyone in this arena made when they first saw me. The same mistake Vorn made before I killed him. The same mistake the Hollow made before I put my knife in its heart." He gestured at the arena around them, at the thousands of aliens watching from their platforms. All these species evolved to be good at one thing. The Drexians are strong. The Vethkai are fast. The Golithi are tough. Each one found a way to survive on their world, and they perfected it. And humans? Skarn asked. "What did humans perfect?" Jake met the hunter's burning gaze. "Everything." Skarn's head tilted slightly. "Explain." "We did not evolve on a safe world," Jake said. "Earth was not kind to us. Everything there tried to kill us. The predators hunted us. The weather froze us and burned us. The diseases attacked us from inside. The land itself shook and broke beneath our feet. Even the water wanted us dead." He held up his wounded hand. Blood was still dripping from his cuts, falling onto the glass-covered sand. "We should have died out millions of years ago. We had no claws to fight with, no armor to protect us, no venom to poison our enemies. We were small and soft and slow. By every rule of nature, we should have been nothing more than food for other animals." Jake took a step forward. He was now close enough to feel the full heat radiating from Skarn's body. It was like standing next to a furnace. But we did not die. We survived. And then we did something no other species on our world had ever done. We fought back. The arena was completely silent now. Every alien was listening. We could not outrun the predators, so we learned to trap them. We could not overpower them, so we invented weapons. We could not outlast them in a single day, so we chased them for days without stopping until they collapsed from exhaustion. Jake's voice grew stronger as he spoke. The pain was still there, but it had become background noise. Something else was filling in now, something old and powerful. We looked at the animals that hunted us, and we said no. We looked at the diseases that killed our children, and we said no. We looked at the mountains and the oceans and the skies, and we said no. You will not stop us. Nothing stops us. Nothing has ever stopped us. Skarn had not moved. The fires behind his face burned brighter. Every predator that hunted our ancestors is gone now, Jake continued. Extinct. Wiped out. Not because we were stronger or faster, but because we never gave up. We kept coming, generation after generation, until there was nothing left to fight. He pointed his knife at Skarn. The blade was small and bloody and ridiculous against a massive hunter. But the gesture carried weight. You have destroyed civilizations, Jake said. You hunted the Velox to extinction. It took you 40 years, and you enjoyed every moment. You think that makes you the apex predators of the galaxy. Skarn's voice was quieter now. Are you saying we are not? I am saying you have never hunted humans. Jake took another step forward. He was inches from Skarn now. The heat was intense enough to make his skin feel like it was burning. He did not back away. We invented the concept of revenge, Jake said. When something hurts us, we do not forget. We do not forgive. We hunt it down no matter how long it takes, no matter how far it runs, and we destroy it completely. Behind Skarn, one of the other Krathfur shifted slightly. A small movement, barely noticeable. But it was there. You see one human standing before you, Jake said. Wounded, tired, almost dead. And you think this will be easy. But let me tell you what happens if you kill me. His eyes locked with the fire burning inside Skarn's head. 8 billion humans will learn your name. They will learn where you live, how you hunt, what you eat. They will build ships to follow you. They will build weapons to hurt you. And they will come for you. Not in one attack. Not in one battle. They will come in waves, generation after generation. For as long as it takes. Jake's voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. But somehow it carried through the entire arena. You hunted the Velox for 40 years, and you thought that was impressive. Humans have been fighting each other for 10,000 years, and we still have not figured out how to stop. War is not something we do. War is what we are. Skarn said nothing. The flames behind his face had dimmed slightly. You want to hunt Earth? Jake asked. Go ahead. Come to our world. See what happens when you face a species that treats extinction as a personal insult. See what happens when you fight something that does not understand the concept of giving up. He raised his knife again. I am one human, wounded, exhausted, barely standing. And I walk toward you. Now imagine 1 billion of us. Now imagine all of us, angry and hurt and coming for you with everything we have. Jake smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Still want to hunt us? The arena held its breath. Skarn stood perfectly still. The fires inside him flickered and danced dot, and then, slowly he took a step backward. The movement was small. Just one step. But in that moment, everything changed. Skarn, the ancient hunter who had never retreated from anything in thousands of years, had stepped backward. Away from a wounded human holding a knife. The arena erupted in whispers. Aliens turned to each other, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Some thought they had imagined it. Others refused to believe their own eyes. But the evidence was right there in front of them, impossible to deny. The two Krathver behind Skarn exchanged glances. Their body language had shifted. Where before they had stood like predators ready to pounce, now they looked uncertain. They had followed Skarn across the galaxy for centuries. They had watched him tear apart creatures 100 times his size. They had never seen him hesitate. Jake did not move. He kept his knife raised, his eyes locked on Skarn's burning face. He could feel his body starting to fail. His vision was going dark at the edges. His legs were shaking. He had maybe a few minutes left before he collapsed, but those few minutes were all he needed. Skarn spoke slowly, as if choosing each word with great care. You speak of what your species has done, but I hear something more. I hear what you are capable of becoming. Jake said nothing. He was saving his strength. The Velox were proud warriors, Skarn continued. They fought well for many years. But in the end, they accepted defeat. They stopped fighting. They gave up. The hunter's head tilted, stunning Jake with new intensity. You would not stop, would you? Even if we killed your worlds, your ships, your armies. Even if we hunted you to the last survivor. That last survivor would still be trying to kill us. Yes, Jake said simply. Skarn was silent for a long moment. The fires inside him flickered like a candle in a strong wind. Then he turned to his hunters. We are leaving. The crowd gasped. One of the hunters stepped forward, confusion evident in his posture. Skarn, we have not finished our hunt. The hunt is finished, Skarn said. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. This species is not prey. He turned back to Jake. When he spoke again, his voice was loud enough for the entire arena to hear. The Krathver recognized the human species as apex. We will not hunt Earth. Not today. Perhaps not ever. The words hung in the air like thunder. Skarn began walking toward the ruined doors at the far end of the arena. His hunters fell and stepped behind him. But before he reached the exit, he stopped and looked back at Jake one final time. The galaxy should hope you remain as merciful as you are dangerous, Skarn said. I have seen your future, human. I have seen what you will become. It is glorious and terrible, and I am glad I will not live to see it. Then the Krathver were gone, disappearing through the broken doorway like shadows fleeing from light. Jake stood alone in the center of the arena. The knife finally slipped from his fingers and fell to the sand. His legs gave out and he dropped to his knees. The last thing he saw before his vision went black was Megan running toward him, her red hair streaming behind her like a flag. Then everything went dark. When Jake woke up, he was in a medical bay. The ceiling above him was white and clean. Machines beeped softly somewhere nearby. He could smell something that reminded him of hospitals on Earth. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain flooded through his body, sharp and hot. Do not move, a familiar voice said. Megan appeared at his side, pushing him gently back down. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. You almost died. You lost enough blood to fill a bathtub. The coalition doctor said you should have been dead 20 times over. Jake managed a weak smile. Only 20? Megan laughed, but it turned into a sob halfway through. You impossible man. You absolute impossible man. Did it work? Jake asked. His voice was rough, like sandpaper on stone. Did we get the seat? Megan took his hand. Her grip was tight, like she was afraid he might disappear if she let go. The coalition voted unanimously, she said. Humanity has been granted a permanent seat on the Inner Defense Council. Not just any seat. The highest seat. The one reserved for the most respected species. Jake let out a long breath. 50 years of rejection. and it had ended with him bleeding in an arena while 3 monsters walked away. "What about Silicate?" he asked. Megan's expression hardened. She resigned as ambassador, left the arena before the vote was even finished. I heard she has not spoken to anyone since. They say her scales turned gray and have not changed back. Jake thought about the mocking way she had laughed at him, the way she had called him soft and weak and unworthy. He found that he did not feel any satisfaction. He just felt tired. "What happens now?" he asked. Megan squeezed his hand. "Now you rest. Now you heal. And when you are ready, humanity takes its place among the stars." Jake closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to relax. The fight was over. He had won. Across the galaxy, word spread like fire. The Krathver had backed down from a human. The apex hunters, the destroyers of civilizations, had looked at one wounded man and decided not to fight. The story grew with each telling. Some said Jake had killed 100 aliens before facing the hunters. Some said he had powers that no one could explain. Some said humans were actually monsters in disguise. The truth was simpler and more terrifying. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They did not have natural weapons or armor. But they had something no other species in the galaxy possessed. They had the refusal to accept defeat. They had the willingness to keep fighting long after any sane creature would have stopped. They had the ability to take pain and turn it into fuel, to take fear and transform it into rage. They had the spark that had driven them from caves to stars, from stone tools to starships, from prey animals to the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. And now the galaxy knew it. In the years that followed, humanity rose quickly. They became diplomats and warriors, scientists and explorers. They spread across the stars, making friends and enemies and everything in between. But wherever they went, a certain reputation followed them. When humans arrived somewhere new, the locals would share stories. Stories about a wounded man in an arena. Stories about 3 monsters who walked away. Stories about what happened when you backed a human into a corner. The stories always ended the same. Wait, do not threaten humans. Do not hurt their families. Do not attack their home. Because if you do, they will not stop. They will not forgive. They will not forget. They will just keep coming. Forever.